And the recording started again.
So yeah, I will show you how you reach the data center designer. You can reach the data center designer when you put in your browser cloud.ionos.de, and on the top right side you find the login button, and from the login button you can go ahead to the DCD, to our data center designer, and in your data center designer there is an overview where there is an login page, and in this login page you can change your language from German to English. So I will do that, and afterwards I can log in. So this is the overview about the data center designer. And in the data center designer, on the left side, you find our own advertisements and some infos about our new services, like monitoring as a service, our online help, our support page where you can reach our support 24/7. And in our support, it's not a call center. There is really IT administrators we hired, and so you get professional help if you need it. And you find our documentation portal. So, and in the middle of this, you see your data centers. So I got a lot of them. I think you can have a lot of data centers for testing purposes or so on. And on the right side, you find your resource allocation, how many cores, RAM, HDD, SSD, does direct attached storage or IPs you reserved in your account. If you go to the top right button and you click on your name, you find your contract number, your settings, password security, resource overview, your cost and usage, your payment method, and the logout button. And on the top left side, you find your data center designer, object storage, backup console, and resource manager. Let us start with my settings. And in these settings, you can choose your standard settings if you create a new data center or a new server or storage or IP settings and so on. So you can just have a normal settings like when you will log out to the data center, which region should your data center be located, and so on. When you create a new one, what will be the standard? And we have it's now 6 data centers. One is in Frankfurt, the other one is in Berlin, then in Spain, in Logroño, in London, in the United Kingdom, in USA, New York, and USA, Las Vegas. More will come. And please be aware of that no replication is being started or so on. So if your data are in Germany, in Berlin, your data will be in Berlin, not in US or United Kingdom or so on. This is good to know. It depends on the location you choose. You got different CPU architectures. So I think if you go to an USA data center, you can go on and have AMD Opteron or AMD CPUs, and if you choose the Berlin or the German side, you will have Intel CPUs. So, and that's nearly all in the global settings. So how many IPs you want to reserve, how will the default storage size or SSD size will be set, and so on. So you have the bottom password and security, and in the bottom password and security, you can change your current password. You can enable your two-factor authentication if you want, or you can set a support pin. So you set a support pin, call our support, and then they can help you if you give them your support pin ID. Here you have your resource overview on the right side. So the global usage, the limits per instance, and so on. So this is my limit. If you want to have more limits for testing purposes or for production purposes, please call our support and then they will scale up for you. And here you have your cost and usage. So this is my cost monthly. So be aware that you have to calculate for the next 30 days for this. So this will calculate for the next 30 days. If you scale up your servers or your infrastructure, so this will calculate it for the next 30 days. And in the payment method, you can select your payment method. So that's nearly all. So if you go to the data center designer, you can create a new data center or start or edit an existing one. So I want to create a new data center in the location. Which one do you want? Maybe in Berlin. So it's my test data center. And here I can give him a description, create a test for Red Hat. So then I go on create a data center. And if you see this overview, so it looks like very familiar with a Visio shape. And this is what it is. So on the left hand side, you find everything what you need to create resources on your infrastructure, like server, cubes, storages, CD-ROMs, an internet gateway, a NAT gateway, cross connection to a different virtual data center, load balancers, and you can go and automate this to create more instances than one. And on the right-hand side, you find for each item you have here, you find an inspector. And in this inspector, you can adjust your server features like network, storage, metrics, and alarms. So let us create a new server. The new server will be created if I click on the server button, move it to the shape, and then let it out. So move it, drag it. That's all. So and I create and I can create a lot of servers. So I can give him the server a name like test1. Then I have ability zones. Ability zones are automatically zone 1 or zone 2. That means zone 1 is in the one zone, so in the first physical room in a data center, and the second zone is in the second room in the data center. So that it's all located in the data center for our example, in Berlin. So I can create an ability zone with author. I give him how many cores I want. So be aware of that one core that's are really cores. That means we have hyper-threaded. If we choose one core, you have 2 virtual CPUs. So that's nearly all you need about our CPU infrastructure. So, and I can give him how much RAM I want. So for this moment, my limitation is 64. So, but I can give him, maybe 2 gigabytes of RAM, 1 CPU. It's just for testing purposes. I want our server has no network interface cards. So if I want to create a new one, there are different ways to do that. I can go on and add a NIC and then give him the name. I don't need to assign a MAC address. I can give him an IP address and so on, create firewall rules and so on. But I will choose that my server is connected to the internet directly. So I can click on my internet access and put it to the server and then to the first NIC, and now we have an internet connection. So then I can go on network, can give him a name. and the MAC address will be assigned. So now I can go on primary address. If I leave it blank, then I get a DHCP address. And if I have IP reserved, then I can go on it, and I have an IP reservation. It's all my IPs I've reserved. So everyone is, I have no free IP address. If I had a free IP address, it will mark as green. I can show you that later in a second. And I can give him the LAN interfaces. I can go on IP failover, create IP failover groups, and so on. Yeah, but I can click on that. So, and I can create on firewall routes. And if I have an application, a network application or a firewall that you choose to install by yourself, and you want to have your own IP addresses and not want to get one of our DHCP servers, then you leave the gateway IP address will be assigned blank, and you don't get an IP address from us. So yeah, but I will go straightly to the internet. So then go on storage, and then I can add HDD storage, SSD storage, and so on. On HDD storage, it's just a normal HDD storage. So I can give him a name OS. I can set in which availability zone we have. I set it on auto, give him a size, 40 gigabytes. And then I can click on image. And if I create it on that, I can go to my own images and go to my own images and choose one. Or I can go on the Ionis images and choose the Ionis images that we provided. In a few seconds, I will show you how to upload your own images and how to use it. So, or you can go on snapshots, and if you create a snapshot from another existing virtual machine, you can set these snapshots and can work with it. So I just want to use an Ionis images. So I'm not sure, is it okay to choose a CentOS 8 image? Is it okay? Yeah, okay, it's okay.
Sure.
And here we have different image types. So one with cloud image and one with not cloud image and so on. So they have different flavors. And after I choose the image, I can give the server or the image and password. And so I will do that. And I can go on SSH keys, and I can inject my SSH keys or an ad hoc key. And I want to boot from this device. So this is how we easily create a server in our cloud. This is quite easy, I think. So what else to say? If you choose an SSD, it is really important to know that with our size, if you scale up your size, the minimum is maybe 100 gigs, and you can choose your performance to premium and standard. And from 100 gigabytes, you have 7,500 IOPS, and the bandwidth will be 100 megabytes. If you said you want to use 1 terabyte, you see that we scale up the bandwidth and the IOPS. Yeah. And we have the limitations. So I think, yes, to 4,500 IOPS and 600 megabytes per second read and write bandwidth. And the maximum performance is reached at 600 megabytes for large volumes, will not have better performance. If you want to have better performance, then choose small SSDs and create a RAID or something like that, or set it as, or Ceph cluster. So that's nearly all. So, and then you can go on alarms, and no alarms are configured. Then you can create an alarm. If your CPU is over 80% for more than half an hour or so on, then you can give it the name, choose the server you want, but there is at the moment no server because we don't have provisioned it on our data center, and then I can Dimetric CPU load over a minute, an hour, and so on. Here's the range, and then I can create alarms, and I will get an information per email or so on, or I can create an action item, so send an email or not. So later it will become more from the action types. Okay, so after we have our server created and we can go on provision changes, and we have no errors, very good. And then I can go on provision now, and the server will be provisioned. This will take up to, I think 1 minute or so on. Do you have questions so far? No? Okay.
No, looks good.
So we will wait a second.
Yes, one question. The alarm triggers, do you have a connection to GitHub, for instance, so that we could, because with the operate first, we want to integrate this, also operations done with GitHub, so that we could, for instance, trigger an alarm or open an issue in the GitHub?
No, it will become later soon. We've talked about it, and it's our GitLab as a service. And yes, then we can use it. But for the moment, it's not in early access.
Okay.
Okay, so you see quite fast, I think. So our data center is provisioned, so I can go to my server, click on network, and here is my IP address I get from the HTTP server. And now I can just quickly open my terminal, and I can go on SSH root at the IP address. Come on. Click on the console button. Okay. Okay. It just it takes a second. Yes, it's my fingerprint. Yes. And now I'm logged in to our new provisioned server. And now I can, do whatever I want with the service. So, this is really quite easy. So, and if I want to have my reserved IP address or so on, so you can go in the resource manager, and in the resource manager, you can find user management, image manager, IP manager, and so on. I will give you a short overview what it means and what you can reach for that. For this moment, so I think that's nearly all we need to create servers and so on. So is there something you need to know more, or?
I would like to ask, can I somehow import and export the infrastructure architecture diagram, basically the layout, or can I integrate it with some versioning, or I don't know, GitOps or something, so we can have a declarative representation of the infrastructure?
You can use Ansible and Terraform to automate this infrastructure, but there's no Git integration right now. So it will become later, but you can, as I said, you can use Terraform and Ansible for this moment. Yeah, I can show you in a second. I got a lot of Terraform examples, how you create an infrastructure
That would be
like
great.
that. Yeah, sure. So then let me go fast. And here you find our manager. So you have the user manager. You can create users with username and password and so on. Just a normal user management. Can go on groups, create a group, a test group. And in this group, I can say which privilege the group has. So create a new data center, reserve IP blocks, create internet access, use S3 object store, and so on. And here I see my resources, and the resources I can click on it, and then I can show what are the visible groups to the users, which is the visible groups, and who has created and when it's created the resources. Then I have the image manager, and in the image manager you see all of the images I have uploaded to our DCD. And if I click on FTP upload imager, choose a client you want, click on this link or use this link to use FileZilla or something like that. Log in with your credentials, and then you can upload your own images. If your image uploading is done, then you get an email, you will get notified, and then you can use these images. If you have an VMDK file or a VMware file or something like that, put it in our HDD manager, and there's an automation process behind that, and it will be created for you and use it in our own DCD. It works. So then we have our IP manager. I think it's a really good tool. So reserve an IP address, give it a name, test red hat purposes. Then I can have just one IP address or 3 or 4 or 5 and so on. And so I want to have one IP address in which region I want to have this. My data center is in Berlin, so I want to reserve the IP address in Berlin. And yes, now I got a test IP address block in Berlin. So, and now I can, example, go to my server, go on network, and I don't want to have this primary IP address from our DHCP server. I want to use it to have an IP address that I reserved, and I want to have this for all the time. So I can click on primary IP address, and with the green light, so this is my free IP address, and I can use it. Okay. Then the monitoring manager. So we have monitoring as a service item. So you can create on actions, like I said, send an email when our CPU is for an hour more than 80% usage, then you can get an email, so on. The SSH Key Manager, there you can put all your SSH keys for that, and yeah, this is your SSH keys, and yeah, okay. You can use it. Then we have our object store, our S3 manager. So then you can create an S3 key, and you get a key and a secret. And after all, you can connect to our S3, and then you have these key and secret credentials. I will show you in a second how you connect with it or so on. So then you got a cross-connect manager. The cross-connect manager is
I think we lost him.
Yep.
No, looks like. Yeah, he is frozen.
hello.
Hi, there you are again.
Okay, what's happened? Okay. Okay, so I was on the cross connect manager. I can go on that, and the cross connect manager, if you create one data center and you want to create another one, and you like to, I have to share my screen again. So can you see my screen?
Yes, there you are
Yes.
again.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, but I don't know what's happened. If you create a cross connect, there just connect two data centers with each other and yeah, get from one resources to another one. So then you find the backup unit manager. And we have our backup as a service. It's quite easy to do backups with our service. So just we use Acronis Cyber Protect, and yeah, go on it. And I will show you how to create just a simple backups. Yeah, and the database manager if you want to create database as a service. So it's just in early access mode. So I'm not sure if you see this. But yeah, so if we go ahead to our object store manager, so we have here our object store managers. Here are my buckets. And if I want to create a new bucket, I give them a bucket name. Test red hat 1, 2, 3. I want to say it's in the region DE in Germany. So create one. And there are my buckets. My bucket, and I can give him a bucket permission for public, authenticated users, log delivery, and so on. I can give him private ACLs, public read write, authentication read, and so on. The storage policy is our thing, so I can give him a lifecycle rule just to give prefixes at the end or expire projects if they want to automatically delete something or something like that. You can go enable website hosting, static hosting. If you want to do that, it's really important that you have versioning and logging be enabled. So enable logging, enable versioning. And if you go to cross region, you can say, yeah, I want to replicate this bucket to my bucket in America or so on. Then you have to get a prefix for that. So like underline US, enable cross region. And if you have this, give him the name for the destination bucket, the destination endpoint. And if you have this, another view will be shown up. So where you have to put in your secret and your key, and then this will be automatically replicated. Yeah, so that's nearly all for this bucket. So you can go on objects, and yeah, you see what is inside. You can upload it, create a follow. We are 100% AWS compatible. That means you can use the AWS CLI, use every client you want that has custom, that you can go on custom endpoints and so on. So yeah, that it is. Okay, so and for the mostly last thing, you can go on backup and create your own backups. And it will be opened my data center. Come on. Give him a second or two. And here you can see your overviews about your backup machines. So for our protected, unprotected, managed, discovered, and so on. And if you want to go and want to install an agent for this, it's quite easy. You go on devices, add a new devices, and then you can choose your release channel. It's our QN channel. I would like to have the latest version, multiple device, workstation, servers, Linux, and so on. And I can go on, yeah, what would I say, a Linux version. So my Cyber Protect agent will be downloaded, or I can, give me a second, I can click on copy the link and then say with curl or wget to my Linux machine, and then install it, the Cyber agent. And after that, I have to generate a token in my data center. This token will be last for, I think, 2 days are okay. Generate this token, and this token will be copied in our installation. He will ask you to enter this token, and then it's fully registered, and you can go on and say, oh, these are my backups. Okay. This is just an overview about our data center designer.
So I may have a couple questions. The backup agent, I see it's still downloading for the Linux version. It's fairly big. Do you have any plans for a smaller client? I see now it's like 700 megabytes for the binary.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Okay, can you repeat it?
So the backup agent you've just been downloading, that's like 700 megabytes. Basically, like the agent size, the binary size that you need to install on every drive or every machine that you would like to back up. The size is quite concerning. It's fairly big. So do you have any plans on, I don't know, scaling it down, shrinking the footprint of the agent?
So we use the standard Acronis client. So and it's 700 megabytes. It's 700 megabytes. So we can't do that.
Okay. One more thing. When we were looking at the object bucket store, are there any limits, or can you limit bucket size for like amount of objects, or the storage footprint on per bucket or per account on the object storage?
For the moment, we don't have limitations, but you can do this with your bucket in the AVS CLI, and then you can go and set, there's a bucket limit. In the CLI, you can do it, but in our website, in our overview, we don't have a button because we don't want it.
Okay. And the S3 permissions that I suspect that's like mapping to the key and secret pairs you've generated previously, so you can have per credentials different policies, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing that I've noticed, and we kind of skipped, which I think would be very interesting for us in Operate First. You have in the manager resources, you have Kubernetes Manager. What's that about? You can create directly Kubernetes clusters, or? Yes,
we have. I don't know that it's so interesting for you. So sorry for that, for skipping that. But yeah, we have our own Kubernetes service manager. We can go ahead on this, and then I can go on a create.
Oops, frozen.
And closed again.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we have any documentation for the API, because as far as I understood with Operate First, we're doing everything with through APIs, and
yeah,
right.
Okay,
Stefan, yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what it is. Sorry. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, it's frozen again. I'm kicking you out, and then you can. Or can you share again by yourself?
Yeah. I will. I give it a try. So everything is being recorded. So yeah, you can go on the Kubernetes Manager, create.
Seems like the Kubernetes Manager is cursed.
Yeah. Interesting. I think now from now on, every time somebody is frozen, we should use a movie from Frozen.
Yeah,
Nice.
I cannot click on that. So my browser is crashing up, so sorry for that. Really sorry.
Not a problem at all.
But okay, I didn't have this before anytime. Okay, so I can create a managed Kubernetes cluster. So that means you choose your data center in which one to deploy your Kubernetes, and then you have at minimum, I think, three nodes, and in these 3 nodes you say, okay, our persistent storage will be SSD, HSD, and so on. Then you can have our full Kubernetes managed servers, and you get a YAML file, and you can set kubectl apply, then this YAML file, and then you're in your Kubernetes cluster, and you can deploy routes, pods, ingress, and so on. So yes, you can use it.
So it's a managed cluster.
It's an absolutely managed cluster. So we provide these the infrastructure, and you provide your images, your
okay. And that's vanilla Kubernetes with some like update schedule, or what kind of distribution?
I'm not sure if it's vanilla, so I'm not so deep in the Kubernetes topic, but you if you create a Kubernetes cluster, then he will ask you for a maintenance window. It's I think 1 to 3 hours. And then you say, okay, once a month, we get a maintenance window, and in this time, we updated it for you, so that you have at least the current version and the newest version and so on. So you can set, oh, I want to have the newest version, I want to be in the stable version, and so on. So yeah, you choose your version. So I think we are 3 versions below what you can choose. If you go into the 4th version, so you have to go to the maintenance, because you can skip 3 times maintenance windows, and on the 4th you will be forced to update it.
And if we would like to deploy our own Kubernetes cluster, basically OpenShift clusters, we would need to provision the infrastructure and go the other way around, right? We can't use this managed flow. Okay.
Okay, so we just have 5 minutes. So you asked for Terraform, is it right? So I don't think I can give you a good explanation in 5 minutes, but let me try. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I can share my screen again. Hopefully it's not crashed. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have here a small Terraform script. You can download it as our DevOps community site and our support site. So there's an example how to do it, or you find it in our documentation site. I can write an email after our meeting and send it to you, and then you can send it to your colleagues or so on. So what is important is to get Terraform provider Ionos Cloud, the Ionos Cloud. Give him your username and your password and your location description, and then you can create your resources. For our resources, I want to use a LAN resources, so it's defined here. Then I want to define just a little WordPress server with 4 gigs of RAM. I want to use WordPress. My image would be Ubuntu, and I want to use an AMD Opteron processor. I want to inject my SSH key, and the connection type is the primary self IP address, and the NIC and the volume size should be up to 50 gigabytes. I can say HDD or SSD. So I want to use HDD. And what I do is I put a cloud init YAML file in it. And in this cloud init YAML file, so that's nearly all. And in this cloud init file is just to, I want to install a package Apache server. Then I can go here for our Git repository for the Ionos labs. There's a script behind that. Copy it to our temp install location, change the user permissions or set it to executable and run the script. And after that, it will be deployed. So you see here, I just have the normal my data center. So I can go here to Terraform, use it with my integrated terminal. So then I can use Terraform init for initialization it. Okay, that's all. Then I go on Terraform plan. Okay, he added me all of these resources, and most of the resources are known after the apply. Then Terraform apply. And now he's creating all of my resources that I've defined in the script. And if we go now here to my data center, there you see there is a data center created. It's named as Terraform WordPress 1. And here you see we have an internet connection directly straight to the internet server that is directly connected to the internet. And yeah, give him a second to deploy all these things. So it goes about our API and.
And the documentation for the API and for and these Terraform we find on the support side of Jonas.
That's right. So
okay. Because that's what we need. I mean, when I will set up the first cluster, I will do it first with the data center designer just to get used to it. But then I will destroy it again, and then I will start using automated approach.
Okay, absolutely. Here is the api.ionos.com. I posted it in the chat.
Yeah.
And if you want to use Terraform Ionos, let me Google it. Then we have in our, so we have in the HashiCorp registry all resources documented.
Okay, perfect. I already bookmarked pages.
Okay, so now we see the apply is complete. And no, that's not what I want. So this is what I want. It's completed. So I have to go outside, go in this. And now I can go onto my console and see what's inside our server happened. And now we see the cloud init script is up and running. And now it says, oh, our Apache web server is be installed. And here are all my settings I have chosen in the script, like how many cores, how many RAM, the name, the availability zone. This is our provided IP address. And here is the storage with our Ubuntu image that we chosen from the Ionos Cloud. So hopefully the next it will be Red Hat. And yeah, so here is the Terraform script, and just give him a second. And after a few seconds. You can go on the on your browser, type in the IP address of the server, and then you see that you have a completely WordPress instances.
Cool. Okay.
This looks great. This looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank-
If you need just a few examples, so maybe I created a complete a data center with Hashi, with Vault and so on, and Terraform. So maybe I think it was nearly hundreds of servers in one data center for a customer. And if you need an example for this with different kind of operating systems with databases as a service and so on, contact me and we can look at this.
Thank you. I will stop the recording.